Everyone knows Aurors as the elite wizards of the magical world, but here's the thing, most people have no idea what it really takes to be one. It's not just about passing a few ministry exams or waving a wand the right way. Being an Auror means stepping into the shadows where the law doesn't always reach. It means hunting wizards so dangerous, even the darkest creatures fear them. And in the history of the wizarding world, only a handful have risen above the rest. The legends, the ones whose names made dark wizards think twice before leaving their hideouts. Some fought in wars that rewrote history, others dismantled criminal empires from the inside, and at least one became so famous, their victories turned into myths. But here's the twist, raw magical power alone wasn't what made them great. Some of the greatest Aurors weren't even the strongest duelists. They were the smartest, the most relentless, the ones who could survive where no one else could. Today, we're diving into the 5 greatest Aurors of all time, and why their names still echo through the wizarding world. From a grizzled veteran with a body full of battle scars, to a young hero who took the job for reasons you'd never expect, and even an unlikely underdog who proved that courage can rival any curse. By the end of this list, you won't just know their names, you'll see exactly why they became legends, and which one might secretly be the most important wizard in the entire Harry Potter universe. So grab your wand, and let's begin. If there's one name that can make even the most hardened dark wizard hesitate, it's Mad Eye Moody. This was a man who didn't just hunt dark wizards, he terrified them. To Moody, being an Auror wasn't a job, it was a lifelong war. And he fought it with a level of obsession that bordered on madness, which is exactly what made him the best. Over his career, he personally captured so many dangerous wizards that more than half of Azkaban's inmates could trace their downfall back to him. And these weren't small-time crooks, these were Death Eaters, dark spell inventors, and killers that even the Ministry was afraid to confront. Moody went after them anyway, and more often than not, he won. But surviving those battles came at a cost. By the time Harry Potter met him, Moody had already lost an eye, part of his nose and half a leg, all in the line of duty. The magical replacement eye he wore could spin in every direction, see through walls, invisibility cloaks, and even the back of his own head. That might sound extreme, but Moody lived in a world where a single unguarded moment could mean your death. And that's where his famous motto came from, constant vigilance. It wasn't just advice, it was the reason he was still alive when so many Aurors, even great ones, weren't. Moody didn't believe in fighting fair. Fair fights got people killed. Instead, he mastered the art of unpredictability, striking when and where the enemy least expected it. It made him dangerous, unstoppable, and sometimes, even the Ministry found him hard to control. Yet, beneath the gruff exterior and paranoid habits, Moody was a teacher. He trained an entire generation of Aurors, including the young and rebellious Nymphadora Tonks, hammering into them that survival meant being ready for anything, at any time. And while Voldemort's forces were growing in secret, Moody's relentless training kept the Auror office from falling apart completely. But for all his brilliance, Moody wasn't the only legend in the room, because fighting alongside him was a wizard who didn't just battle dark magic, he reshaped the wizarding world itself. If Moody was the battle-scarred warrior, Kingsley Shacklebolt was the calm in the storm. Tall, composed, and with a voice that could silence an entire room, Kingsley didn't need to shout to be respected. People listened, and when they didn't, they quickly learned why they should have. Before the Second Wizarding War, Kingsley was already considered one of the most skilled Aurors in the Ministry. He had a gift for stealth, slipping into enemy territory, gathering intelligence, and vanishing before anyone realized he'd been there. He was so good at undercover work that he once infiltrated Voldemort's supporters from the inside, all while secretly protecting members of the Order of the Phoenix. During the war, he played a critical role in defending Harry and the other members of the Order. Remember the daring escape from Privet Drive? Kingsley was right there in the sky, fighting Death Eaters mid-flight, and keeping calm when chaos was exploding all around him. But it was after the war that Kingsley's legend truly solidified. With the Ministry in shambles, corruption exposed, and fear still lingering in every corner of the wizarding world, Kingsley stepped up. He didn't just lead the Auror office, he became Minister for Magic. And under his leadership, he rebuilt trust, purged the Ministry of Corruption, and made sweeping reforms to ensure no dark wizard could ever take power so easily again. one of his boldest moves, waiving the traditional newt requirements for Auror training in order to recruit proven fighters from the war, people like Harry Potter and Neville Longbottom. It was controversial at the time, but Kingsley knew experience in battle was worth more than any classroom exam. If Moody was the blunt weapon that smashed through enemy lines, Kingsley was the strategist who rebuilt the battlefield so they'd never need to fight the same war twice. But among the new Aurors he recruited was someone unlike anyone the Ministry had ever seen, a young metamorph magus who could change her face, her voice, and her fate in seconds. If Moody was the grizzled veteran and Kingsley the calm tactician, Nymphadora Tonks was the wildcard, bright-haired, quick-witted, and with a grin that could break tension in the darkest moments. Tonks didn't look like your typical Auror, and that was exactly why she was so dangerous. As a metamorph magus, Tonks had a skill so rare, most witches and wizards had never even seen it. The ability to change her appearance at will. Different hair color, different face, different voice, in seconds. To the Ministry, she was an Auror. To her enemies, she could be anyone. Tonks trained under Mad Eye Moody himself, learning the art of survival from the most paranoid man in wizarding history. But unlike Moody, Tonks didn't fight with intimidation. She fought with unpredictability. One moment she'd be in your face with a wand at your throat, the next she'd be gone, blending into the crowd before you even knew she'd moved. And her bravery, it was relentless. During the Second Wizarding War, Tonks fought alongside the Order of the Phoenix in some of the most dangerous missions, including the infamous battle at the Department of Mysteries, where she faced off against Death Eaters and walked away alive. She returned to fight again during the Battle of Hogwarts, knowing full well it could be her last stand. Tonks wasn't just fighting for the Ministry or the Order, she was fighting for her family. Her marriage to Remus Lupin, a werewolf still facing prejudice even in peacetime, showed just how little she cared for public opinion. To her, doing the right thing mattered more than politics, and that made her a threat to anyone hiding behind lies. In the end, Tonks' legacy wasn't just her skill, it was her courage to be herself in a world that constantly tried to shape her into something else. And her story leads us to perhaps the most famous Auror in wizarding history, a boy who was never supposed to survive, but ended up leading the very department that once hunted him. Harry Potter's story didn't end when Voldemort fell. In fact, some would say that's when the real test began. The boy who lived could have walked away. He had every reason to. 7 years of danger, loss, and war, enough trauma to last 10 lifetimes. The wizarding world would have forgiven him if he'd disappeared into peace and privacy forever. But Harry didn't disappear. Instead, he did something no one expected. He joined the Ministry of Magic, and not just any department. He became an Auror, the same organization that had once doubted him, hunted him, and even tried to expel him from Hogwarts. Some saw it as poetic justice. Others thought it was madness. Why would Harry trade one war for another? The truth is, Harry wasn't chasing glory. He was chasing purpose. He'd spent his whole life fighting dark magic, and he wasn't about to stop just because the Dark Lord was gone. Under Kingsley Shacklebolt's leadership, Harry rose quickly through the Auror ranks. Within just a few years, he was leading the entire department, rewriting its rules, reshaping its training, and rooting out the corruption that had festered there for decades. But Harry's time as an Auror wasn't without controversy. Critics accused him of relying on his fame more than his skill. Others argued he was the best, a duelist, strategist, and leader who'd already beaten the most dangerous dark wizard in history. Regardless of the debates, one thing is undeniable. Harry Potter's presence in the Auror office kept the wizarding world safe in the uncertain years after the war. And whether you believe he earned his position or inherited it, his name alone was enough to make potential threats think twice before acting. But not every Auror worked in the spotlight. Some operated in the shadows so deep, even the Ministry barely knew what they were doing, until it was too late. And one in particular became the ultimate undercover weapon against dark forces. Not every Auror makes the headlines. Some work so far in the shadows that even their allies don't know the full story. And Gawain Robards was one of them. Unlike Moody or Harry, Robards didn't build his reputation in public battles or daring escapes. His legacy was built on precision, quiet, calculated missions where mistakes weren't an option, because if he failed, no one would even know he'd tried. Robards was the kind of Auror the Ministry sent when diplomacy had collapsed, when the enemy was too well protected for a frontal assault. and when they needed someone who could disappear without a trace. He didn't just hunt dark wizards, he dismantled their networks from within, piece by piece, and by the time they realized he was there, it was already over. His record during the Second Wizarding War is still shrouded in secrecy, but what's known is this. Robards was instrumental in coordinating the Auror office's counterattacks against Death Eater cells that had gone into hiding. When the war ended, Kingsley Shacklebolt handpicked him to take over as head of the Auror office, trusting him to keep the wizarding world secure in a time when dark magic wasn't gone, just quieter. Robards wasn't flashy. He didn't chase glory, and that's exactly why he was so effective. While other Aurors were celebrated as heroes, Robards was already on his next mission, eliminating the next threat before it had a chance to grow. In the end, his career reminds us of a simple truth about Aurors. Sometimes the greatest protectors aren't the ones you see in the spotlight. They're the ones you never even knew were there. From battle-scarred veterans to undercover ghosts, the Auror office has always been the Ministry's sharpest weapon. But what makes these witches and wizards truly legendary isn't just their skill with a wand, it's what they were willing to risk to protect the wizarding world. Mad Eye Moody taught a generation that survival demands constant vigilance. Kingsley Shacklebolt proved that leadership can win battles long after the fighting stops. Tonks showed that courage isn't about how you look or how others see you, it's about fighting for what you love, no matter the cost. Harry Potter reminded everyone that heroism doesn't end with one victory. Sometimes it's a lifetime of standing between the innocent and the dark. And Gawain Robards proved that some of the most important wars are won in silence, long before the enemy even knows they've lost. Together, they represent the full spectrum of what it means to be an Auror: the fighter, the leader, the rebel, the symbol, the shadow. Their stories are a reminder that even in a world of magic, the greatest defense against darkness isn't a spell, it's the people willing to cast it. But here's the thing, for every Auror whose name we know, there are countless others who fought and fell without ever being recognized. And it makes you wonder, how many legends are out there, hidden in the pages we've never read? The Aurors we've talked about today, they're the ones history remembered. Their names made it into books, stories, and the memories of those they saved. But the Auror office has always been bigger than just a few legends. Some fought battles that will never be written down. Some gave everything they had and vanished without recognition. And some are still out there right now, hunting threats we don't even know exist. That's the truth about Aurors. Their greatest victories aren't always the ones you hear about. Sometimes the reason the wizarding world feels safe is because someone made sure you never know how close it came to falling apart. So here's my question for you. If you had to pick one, who do you think was the greatest Auror of all time? Was it the grizzled warrior, the calm strategist, the shape-shifting rebel, the chosen one, or the ghost in the shadows? Let me know in the comments, because the debate over the greatest Auror isn't over. And maybe, just maybe, the real answer is someone we've never even heard of.